I got the first message at 3:07 a.m. The screen lit up my dark bedroom like a flashlight under a blanket. I wasn't asleep, hadn't been really for weeks. So I saw it the moment it appeared. You up? Just that. 2 words. Nothing creepy. Unless you consider the fact that it came from my ex's number, and that he's been dead for 3 weeks. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the reply field, as if muscle memory kicked in before logic could. The name still showed as Chris, like it always had, with the little black heart emoji I added during the months when I still thought love meant something permanent. I didn't reply. I did what anyone would do. I locked my phone, tossed it under the pillow, and told myself it was some kind of delayed auto text. Glitch. Something techy. Something rational. I lay there for an hour, my chest tight with unspent questions. Not grief exactly. I'd already grieved. Grieved the relationship long before he died. Grieved the person I thought he was. Grieved what he took from me when we fell apart. His death wasn't tragic in a poetic way. He wasn't hit by a bus while saving a child or taken in his sleep by some gentle illness. He was drunk, alone. Too fast on a dark road. The kind of ending that fits the man, even if it didn't feel fair. Still, that message. You up? It was something he'd sent me 100 times before. In the early days, it meant, come over. In the middle days, it meant, I messed up again. In the end, it meant nothing. Around 4 a.m., I opened my phone again. The message was still there. No follow-up, no typing bubble. I clicked the contact. Number was still the same. When I hit call, it didn't ring. Just a dull error screen. Number not in service. I sat up, turned on the lamp, and I stared at the phone like it might give me an answer if I looked hard enough. And I said it out loud, just to hear how stupid it sounded. Chris is dead. I opened his obituary on my phone. Still there. Still him. I tried to go back to sleep. Didn't work. At 3:07 the next night. Another message. I miss the way you smelled. I threw the phone. It hit the wall and bounced onto the floor with a sick little clunk. I stared at it from the bed, like it might crawl back to me. The room suddenly felt colder. I told myself again, Glitch. Maybe someone's spoofing his number. Maybe a sick prank. It's not him, can't be. And that's when the screen lit up one more time. New message. You don't believe it's me, do you? The third message came the next night. Same time. 3:07 a.m. I remember your heartbeat. By then I'd stopped trying to rationalize it. I hadn't answered, but I also hadn't blocked the number. And the worst part, some part of me didn't want to. There was a time when I would have melted reading that. When I thought Chris was the only person who really saw me. He had that thing. That way of making you feel like you were the only one in the room. It was addictive. Until it wasn't. Until it turned into control. Gaslighting. Those sharp little emotional jabs he pretended were jokes. The way he always left when I needed him most. Only to come back when I was finally okay again. It took me 6 tries to leave him for good. 6. I don't talk about that part a lot. To my friends, I was finally over him. They saw me laugh at his name, delete his photos, move on. But no one knew how many nights I stared at my phone, hoping he'd text. And now, he was just not exactly alive. The next night, I turned my phone off before bed, put it in a drawer, wrapped it in a scarf like some kind of magical thinking could block whatever was happening. At 3:09 a.m., I woke up, cold. Not the kind of cold that comes from bad insulation. The kind that starts at your ribs and moves inward. I got up, unwrapped the scarf, turned on the phone. It lit up instantly. One new message. Timestamp, 3:07 a.m. I was there. I watched you sleep. My breath caught. The message wasn't just creepy, it was real. Because that night, I'd left my bedroom door open. The window cracked, and I could have sworn I heard something move in the hallway. I called my best friend. She answered groggy. Liz? Are you okay? I told her everything. The texts, the times, the content. She listened quietly, and then sighed. Sweetie, it's grief or stress. You know that, right? I didn't respond, because maybe it was. But then I said the part one was too afraid to say before. They're not generic messages. They're personal, specific. He said something about the heartbeat, about sleeping. Things no one else would say. She paused. Maybe someone hacked his number? I had already checked. The number wasn't listed anymore. I even called the service provider. It was deactivated 2 weeks ago. No forwarding, no porting, nothing. It wasn't active. It shouldn't be texting anyone. She offered to stay over, just in case. I told her no. Maybe I was ashamed. Maybe I wanted to be alone in case it happened again. That night, I sat on the couch, lights off, waiting. At exactly 3:07 a.m., my phone lit up. New message. A photo. I opened it. It was my living room, taken from the hallway, while I was sitting on the couch. I dropped the phone. It clattered to the ground. I didn't scream, didn't move, just stared at the darkness beyond the frame of the room. Because I knew whoever sent that was here. The next day, I showed him the photo. She stared at it for a long time, then asked, "When did you take this?" I didn't. That's the point. She raised an eyebrow. So you're saying someone was in your apartment at 3 a.m. and took this and texted it to you from your dead ex's number? That's exactly what I'm saying. She didn't laugh, didn't call me crazy, but she didn't believe me either. She took the phone and started inspecting the message data. Metadata, timestamps, location, sender info. There's nothing here, Liz. It just says unknown source. I went to the police, filed a report. They checked the locks, the building's security footage, my call logs. There was nothing. No signs of forced entry. No strange figures in the hallway. No one entering or leaving. Just me, alone. Which meant what? I staged it, fabricated the message, took the photo myself and forgot. I wanted to scream. Instead, I deleted the photo. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want to look at it anymore. Maybe I was afraid of what else I'd find in the background if I stared long enough. That night, I turned off the lights, lit a candle, and sat on the floor. I opened a blank note on my phone, typed just one word, "Why?" and waited. 3:07 came. Nothing. No vibration, no light, no message. I started to feel stupid, then relieved. Maybe it was over. Maybe I'd done enough, put up enough resistance, ignored it long enough for the haunting, or whatever it was, to give up. I got in bed, curled into the sheets. At 3:34 a.m., I got a new message. First time it was late. First time it came with urgency. You blocked me. Why? I hadn't. I opened the contact. Same number, same emoji. Still unblocked, still active. Then another message, instant. You were never good at goodbye. My stomach dropped, because those were the exact words he said. The last time we fought. It was a horrible night. He showed up drunk at my place, begged me to take him back, told me no one else would ever understand him the way I did. And when I finally pushed him out and slammed the door, he texted me from the hallway. You were never good at goodbye. I never told anyone about that. None. Not even my therapist. I deleted the message within minutes. Felt ashamed I'd even read it. And now, here it was again. Word for word. Something shifted in me. Fear, yes, but something colder underneath. Because if this wasn't real, then it meant I was remembering things I'd spent years trying to forget. And if it was real, then I wasn't alone. I turned the phone off, took the SIM card out, threw it in the sink, watched it disappear down the drain. Done. It was done. I felt better. Until the next night. At 3:07 a.m., my new phone lit up. No SIM, no Wi-Fi. Just one notification. I miss your voice. I didn't want to go back, but I knew I would. Something about those messages. They weren't just haunting me. They were baiting me. And I took it. I told myself I'd shut it down. Find proof. Figure out the source. Rationalize the irrational. But I knew the truth. I wanted to hear from him. Even now. Even after everything. I started sleeping with the phone under my pillow. Screen dimmed, sound off. But my body knew when 3:07 was coming. Every night, I'd wake a minute before. Every night, the message would be there. You still sleep on your left side. I remember the scar under your ribs. I still dream about that lake. He was pulling memories out of me I hadn't touched in years. Some so small. I barely remembered they were mine. But he did. Or whatever this was, it did. I stopped talking to him. She said she was worried. Said I looked pale. Said I wasn't making sense anymore. I wanted to scream at her. Show her the messages. But what would it prove? That I couldn't let go. That maybe I never had. Because here's the thing. There's a part of me that never left that version of us. The good version. Before things turned dark. Before the jealousy. Before the gaslighting. Before I stopped trusting my own thoughts. Sometimes I wonder if he ever really loved me. Or if he just loved being needed. But then he'd send another message. I always knew you'd come back. That one broke me. Because he did know. He always knew how to pull me in. Just enough warmth to keep me hoping. Just enough silence to drive me crazy. I used to think that was emotional abuse. Now I'm not even sure what's real. A few nights ago, I woke up and my phone wasn't on my nightstand. It was in my hand. Open. Screen glowing. A new message. Look outside. I did. There was nothing there. Just the empty street. A flickering lamppost. No wind, no sound. Until my phone buzzed again. A video. I opened it. The camera was shaky, facing my apartment window. From across the street. Zooming in. Closer. Until it caught me. In bed. Sleeping. I dropped the phone. Trembling. There was no way anyone could film that. My windows are 3 stories up. No fire escape. No ledge. It was shot from midair. And one more thing. The video wasn't filmed last night. It was from 2 nights ago. Because I recognized the pajamas. And that was the night I dreamed he was standing over me, watching. Except it wasn't a dream. It was a memory, and he knew it. The next message wasn't a sentence. It was a set of coordinates. No explanation. Just 2 numbers. Latitude, longitude. At first, I ignored them. I told myself it was a trap, digital or mental. That following it would mean giving up the last bit of control I still had. But then I plugged them into maps, and my stomach flipped. It was a cabin. An old, abandoned one near Mirror Lake. About 2 hours north. We'd gone there once. Not for romance. For recovery. After one of our worst fights, he'd insisted we get away. Just us, he said. I had a black eye and a story ready for my coworkers. He had flowers and cheap wine. We didn't stay the night. I left after 2 hours. Told myself I was done. And now, that place was calling me back. I didn't tell anyone. Just drove. The road was narrow and winding. No cell service. No music. Just me and the sound of gravel under tires. The trees felt too tall. The sky too still. When I arrived, the cabin looked exactly as I remembered. Only now it was worse. Rotting wood, a door hanging off the hinges, broken windows covered in spider webs. But I got out. I walked up the steps. Each creak felt like a memory. Inside it was empty, or so I thought. The smell hit me first. Old water, mold, dust, and something sweet, like flowers, the kind he used to buy when he messed up. Lilies, always lilies. There were fresh ones, in a jar, on the table. I wanted to run, but then my phone vibrated. No service, no Wi-Fi. Still a message appeared. Sit down. I did. The table was exactly as it had been that night. 2 chairs, candle stubs, a wine bottle with the label peeled off. I whispered out loud, "Chris." Nothing. Just a breeze through a shattered window. I stood, took one slow step toward the hallway. Another message. The bedroom. I froze. The bedroom was where I found the text that first time. He'd been in the bathroom. I glanced at his screen. Messages from someone else. Someone named Red. He swore it was nothing. That I was paranoid. That I was controlling. I believed him, then hated myself for it. Now I walked down that same hallway. The door creaked open. Empty. Dust on the floor. A cracked mirror leaning against the wall. Curtains half-eaten by time. And on the bed, a single photograph. It was a picture of me, taken outside my apartment. Recent. Last week maybe. I was on the phone, looking distracted. A coffee in one hand. Hair up, totally unaware. I picked it up. My fingers shook. Another vibration. I liked this day. You looked happy. I dropped the phone because I wasn't holding it anymore. It was on the floor, but I still heard the vibration. Still saw the screen light up. It was lying on the ground beside the bed, but I hadn't touched it, and then I felt it. A breath. Warm. On the back of my neck. I turned around. No one. Just the cracked mirror. But in the reflection, for a split second, I saw him. I drove home with the windows down, trying to breathe, trying to feel the wind, to remind myself I was alive. Here. Now. But I knew something had followed me. It wasn't in the car. I would have seen it, heard it. It was already ahead of me, waiting. When I walked through my front door, the apartment felt wrong. Not messy, not cold. Just inhabited, like I was the guest now. I checked every room. Closets, cabinets, under the bed. Nothing. But every shadow felt too deep. Every corner hummed. I turned my phone off, wrapped it in foil, shoved it in a drawer. I didn't want to hear from him anymore. I didn't want anything at all. But at 3:07, I didn't need a phone, because I heard it. His voice, whispering from the hallway. Not words, just rhythm. The same cadence he used when talking in his sleep. I froze, held my breath, tried to tell myself it was my mind playing tricks. But then, the hallway light turned on by itself. Soft, dim, flickering. I walked toward it slowly. Each step felt like wading through water. And when I reached the end of the hall, my bedroom door was shut. I had never shut it. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob, but I didn't open it. I turned, went back to the couch, and sat in the dark, staring at nothing. I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I finally opened the door. Empty. Of course. I laughed. Quietly. Bitterly. I made coffee, sat at the table, and opened my laptop, just to scroll, to ground myself. But my screen was already on. Open tab. A text file. Untitled. Hundreds of lines. All typed. In my writing style. My voice. But I didn't remember typing any of it. I scrolled down. Most of it was rambling. Until the last line. You brought me back. And now you want to leave. I slammed the laptop shut. My phone, still off, vibrated in the drawer. I didn't move. I waited. And then it stopped. Later that night, I took a hot shower, hoping steam could melt whatever had hardened inside me. But when I stepped out, I saw it. Words. Scrawled into the fogged-up mirror. I'm already inside. I wiped the glass. Nothing there. Checked my phone. Still powered down. No messages. But when I climbed into bed, I found something beneath the pillow. A small piece of paper, folded in half. Handwritten. One line. Don't lock the door tonight. I locked the door. Of course I did. I locked every door. Every window. I unplugged the Wi-Fi. Removed the batteries from the smoke detector just in case it could be used as a speaker. I taped over the webcam. I did everything. But it didn't matter. Because this wasn't about keeping something out. This was about what I'd already let in. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up. To silence. Not the normal kind. Not peaceful. It was hollow. The kind that makes your ears ache. The kind you feel behind your teeth. I sat up in bed and realized I wasn't alone. Not because I saw anyone. Not because I heard anything. But because I felt it. That low, buzzing presence. Like a second pulse beneath my skin. I reached for my phone out of instinct. It was off. Dead battery. But the screen still lit up. One new message. You let me in. I threw the phone. He was right. I had. All those replies. All those nights I sat and waited. All those memories I invited back in. I didn't just open the door. I held it. And now, I couldn't tell where I ended, and he began. I looked at my reflection in the mirror across the room. She blinked too slow. Her head tilted slightly. Just enough to notice. Just enough to say, that's not me. I walked toward the mirror, heart pounding, skin hot, like I was walking into a fever. My reflection smiled first. I didn't. I whispered, "What do you want?" And without moving her lips, she answered, "To stay." The lights flickered, and suddenly, I couldn't remember the last time I left the apartment. The last time I saw him. The last time I stood in the sun. Had I ever? Was I even still here? I turned away from the mirror, closed my eyes, tried to find something that still belonged to me. My name, my body, a memory I could trust. But all I found was static, a low hum in my bones, a screen lighting up again behind me, and one final message. Can I use your voice now?